right, let's get right into it because we have to. The signals are flashing bright red. We're not talking about some far off possibility anymore. We're talking about a clear and present danger to the entire global system. And frankly, it's picking up speed. We need to understand exactly what's going on right now. Now, look, that's not my analysis. That is a direct quote from a recent speech delivered right to the heart of the defense establishment. You have a top official comparing today to the very brink of World War II. When leaders start using language like that, it's not for show. It's a dead serious warning. And this isn't just talk. That very same speech laid out a radical change for the Pentagon, shifting the entire system to, and I'm quoting here, operate on a wartime footing. This is not a drill. It is an official structural pivot, remaking the machinery of the state to prepare for a major conflict. The whole system is being rebuilt for one thing: wartime speed. So you see, the geopolitical tensions, they're the spark, right? They're the catalyst. But the real danger, the reason this situation is so incredibly fragile, it isn't just about armies and weapons. It's about the catastrophic economic vulnerability that's been hiding in plain sight for years. It's this. This right here is the $35 trillion debt bomb, an absolutely unprecedented level of national debt that completely changes the game. A number this big isn't just an entry on a spreadsheet. It's a strategic liability. It basically corners a nation and leaves it with very few good options. And see, that massive debt, it creates something called a fiscal dominance trap. In normal times, a government might try to tax more or borrow more to get out of a hole. But when you have to fund a massive war on top of servicing a debt this size, well, those options just evaporate. You're left with really only one choice. You monetize the debt. And in plain English, that means the central bank is forced to fire up the money printers on a scale we have never seen before, just to pay the bills. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is timeless wisdom from Warren Buffett. He's looked at financial history, and the lesson is brutally simple. Major wars are funded by destroying the value of your currency. It's not a mistake. It's how wartime finance works. The value of the money in your pocket becomes a direct casualty of the conflict. And you have to understand, this isn't a single event. It's a chain reaction, a series of dominoes. A major conflict erupts. Doesn't matter where, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, the Pacific, and boom, immediately the arteries of the global economy are severed. Oil shipments, food supplies, technology components, it all just grinds to a halt. This is a massive supply shock, and it leads directly to the absolute nightmare scenario. And that destination has a name. It's called war stagflation. And listen, this is not your 1970s stagflation. Oh no. This is the brutal job loss and economic collapse of the 1929 crash, combined with the runaway, out-of-control hyperinflation you see in a wartime economy. It is literally the worst of both worlds, happening at the same time. But there's a second engine driving this whole crisis, and it's just as powerful. For decades, the entire world has run on the US dollar. But using financial sanctions has taught countries like Russia and China a vital lesson. The dollar can be used as a weapon against them. So what's their response? A quiet and now very fast rebellion against that entire dollar-based system. And this isn't some theory. This is de-dollarization happening right now in real time. Just look at this. As of late 2025, over 99% of all trade between Russia and China is settled in their own currencies, the ruble and the yuan. The dollar has been almost completely kicked out of one of the world's most important trading partnerships. And here's the crucial point. This isn't just about Russia and China. As this quote from the BRICS Plus research group makes crystal clear, this is the blueprint for a much bigger movement. There's a whole new financial system being built right now in parallel to the old one, and it's specifically designed to operate completely outside the reach of the US dollar. Okay, so we've covered these massive global forces, the geopolitics, the economics, but let's bring it all the way down to the only question that really matters. With your own government forced to print money like crazy at home and the world's major powers actively running away from that same money, what in the world does this mean for your savings, your investments, your family's financial future? Listen to this. Just listen to these words from Buffett again, because he is absolutely bone-chillingly clear. In pretty much every war in history, he says, the last thing you would ever want to do is hold money, cash, savings accounts, anything tied to a currency that is being deliberately destroyed to fund a conflict. This is not a suggestion. It is a direct, unambiguous warning. And here is exactly why. In that war stagflation scenario we've just walked through, holding cash is a guaranteed loss. You can bet on it. The combination of insane money printing and broken supply chains means the purchasing power of every single dollar you have saved just evaporates. It melts like an ice cube on a hot sidewalk. It is a systematic destruction of wealth for anyone who is a saver. So, okay, if holding cash is the absolute worst thing you can do, what's the right move? Well, Buffett's playbook for surviving this is actually not that complicated, but it is absolutely critical. The logic is simple. You have to get out of assets that are designed to lose value, like a depreciating fiat currency, and you get into assets that are real. He has a name for them: productive assets. And the definition here is everything. These are not paper promises. These are real, tangible things that have value all by themselves. They produce something, whether that's food from the ground, or rent from a building, or a share of a real company's profits, and their value is independent of what happens to the dollar. So what does he actually mean in practical terms? He's not talking about some complex, exotic stuff. He's talking about owning a farm, because guess what? People will always need to eat. He's talking about owning an apartment building, because people will always need a place to live. Or owning a piece of America's best businesses through something simple like an S&P 500 index fund. Why? Because they represent the actual productive engine of the country. These are the kinds of assets that survive and even do well when paper money fails. So here's the bottom line. The government is getting ready for a wartime footing. Global powers are actively preparing for a post-dollar world. The question this all leaves us with is a really personal one. Have you prepared your own finances, your own portfolio for that exact same reality?